Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Love and Action Network podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Flo, not telling you what I heard, but what I know. You're loved and lovable. You've always been loved and lovable, and you're always going to be loved and lovable. And as always, our mission is simple: to encourage, equip, and empower. Today, we're talking about something that impacts every entrepreneur, nonprofit leader, speaker, artist, coach, creative, business owner, and human being: visibility. Not fake visibility, not viral tricks, not pretending your life is perfect. Real visibility, authentic visibility. Today's guest helps people tell their stories in ways that create genuine opportunities. She's a public relations consultant who specializes in helping people weave their stories into their marketing, resulting in podcast appearances, magazine features, newspaper coverage, and digital television exposure. She believes your story is powerful and it deserves to be heard. Please help me welcome today, Melanie Whittaker.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. How are you doing today?
I am great. Life is wonderful. It's obviously with the time difference, it's, late afternoon for me. It's been a really nice day and I feel nice and chilled because it's a Sunday and I'm relaxed.
Yes. Let people know where you are tuning in from or broadcasting from today.
Sure. I live on a beautiful island, tropical island, owned by the Spanish. It's called Gran Canaria. It's part of the Canary Islands, and we're just off the coast of Africa. So the Sahara Desert ain't that far away.
Amazing. I cannot wait to visit you one day and to walk.
Yeah.
And I mean,
that would be so cool.
You send me videos all the time of your life there. And I'm like, wow, this is freaking fantastic. Just to be in a tropical island every day. And maybe a little later, we'll get to the courage that it took for you to leave your homeland and to move to a tropical island, because I think that story is incredible as well. Although we've got many podcasts to talk about these things. And before we dive into marketing today, who is Melanie when she's not working?
That's a really cool question. I am a hippie kind of chick, which is why I'm a beach bum. I love the beach. I love sunshine, and coming from England, that's notorious for having bad weather. When I found Gran Canaria, I just fell in love. I was just like, oh my God, this is paradise. It's hot all year round. It's like Mexico for you guys. And I'm a fun-loving chica. I have a loud laugh. I'm sassy, I'm quirky, which goes with being an Aquarius. I was Aquarius, people are quirky. I'm fun. I don't like things that are very wooden and stiff and boring. I don't like to follow the herd. That's not that I want to cause controversy when I say that. I'm just saying I walk to the beat of my own drum. Sorry, I can't hear you.
That's called the mute button that I forgot what's on. What brings you the most joy these days?
Oh, again, I know I'm sounding repetitive because I just said it, sunshine. And I was discussing this with someone yesterday. Like when you're in sun, you just automatically feel happier. But if it's not that, I love music. I love to have a good boogie to my music. I love funky house music, trance music. Those are my joys in life. And meaningful conversations with people, which go way further than, hi, how are you? And running off to the next thing because you're not really paying attention to how they are. You just said it because.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And what's keeping you grounded these days the most?
Knowing that, I'll put it in perspective. I am a really impatient person. I find it very hard to be patient, very hard. It's not in my nature, so I struggle with that. So to stay grounded, I always look at the bigger picture. So when things are not going the way that I want them to go, I always say to myself, this is just a chapter of your life. It's a chapter of your life. It's going to keep moving forward because that's what life does. And another thing that is helping me keep grounded is because I say I'm an impatient person, I look at how my life has moved and how it's progressed. And so when I'm not at the point that I want to be, or it's all just feeling too much, sometimes where you have those days, which we all do, which is like, why am I even doing this? I just say to myself, only a few years ago, you're talking just under a decade, I didn't think I'd be living here. So look at the bigger picture. You might be really feeling ratty and annoyed or impatient or fed up or whatever that ick is. Be kind to yourself. You hear it all the time, be kind to yourself. And I don't think we really give it any meaning until we really need to. And there might be times where you feel like punching the wall or you want to cry or whatever the thing is. But what we really need to do is just realize that time is forever moving and it won't always stay this way. So the way that I stay grounded is to know that my life's going to look so different in 6 months, and then in a year, and then in 2, and then in 5. So enjoy what you have. Enjoy it. It's growth.
Yes, the only constant in this life is that thing called change, right? And things can change for the better. I also love that you're an Aquarius like me because we are just wild and out there, fun and free. And leave your judgments in the comment box. We may or may not read them later. It's a gift. Total gift. People see successful entrepreneurs, but they rarely see the journey. And I'd love to start there. Tell us about your own story. What originally drew you to public relations? Was there a defining moment where you decided this is what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah, big time. So that defining year that happened for us all, 2020, since I'd been on the island, I had always done what is known as public relations, which is standing outside restaurants and getting people into bars and restaurants. And I never needed to do that on social media. I just didn't need to do it. We had the footfall. It was groovy. Then 2020 happened. We all know what happened there. And they did take tourists away from us. So there were 6 months where it was nothing but the Canarian Spanish people and us expats. That was it. So we're rattling around, locked in paradise. And so then when the islands reopened, I very quickly realized that, you know, people were coming to the island, but it wasn't a plane full. You know, we were talking to tourists and some would say, oh, there was 15 people on the flight. There might have been 20 on the flight. You know, it was nuts. And so I could see very clearly that social media was king. Like, if you're not out there as a restaurant or a bar and promoting yourself and engaging with people and making them feel welcome, you are going to get left behind. Now, you can say that about any industry, but the reason it was so visible for me is we have so many Facebook groups about my island. You can go into Facebook groups about where you want to eat and drink, day trips you want to do, what part of the island do you want to visit, buying property, renting property, digital nomads. It goes on and on and on. There's so many groups. And so what I did was I took what I was doing, being stood outside, into the groups, and I saw with my own eyes every single day it was filling restaurants. I would leave going, oh my God, I can't believe how many we got in tonight. But I knew it was because I was being active in the groups, and I wasn't just like, you know, liken it to you. If you're whatever you're doing, so you have a creative community. Maybe you're an artist, maybe you're a sculptor, maybe you sing. I don't care what it is that you do. And maybe you're just going out there and you're just plonking your work. And I don't just mean on your social media accounts or to your email list. You could be going into Facebook groups and you're just putting out your work. And then you're thinking, well, why is no one engaging? You have to do way more than that. You have to start being social with other people. That's why it's called social media. And so I learned very quickly how to make social media work, which is very easy to do, I know, when you're dealing with food and drink in a nice tropical destination. And I used to get inside the head of a tourist. So I would think, okay, the tourist is wherever they live. They've probably come home and it's raining. They're watching some soap opera after working their 9 to 5, and they're bored and they're doing their scrolling. And all of a sudden, boom, up comes a video I've done or a photo of food and drink. And they're like, oh my goodness, we're coming to the island soon. Where is this? We want to come. And so I learned that very fast because I was seeing it daily. And so my initial thought was that I wanted to be a social media manager. That's what I thought I wanted to do. And then I had probably maybe 9 months or so after us being open, I think 9 months to a year, I had a coach reach out to me because I've always been around coaches. I like the work that they do. And she reached out to me and she said, I am going to start getting people to come to my retreats and I'd love for you to PR it. I want you to get me seen everywhere. I want you to get me in magazines, on podcasts, and all these kinds of things. And that was when I started the PR side of it. And I love PR. Absolutely love it.
Amazing. Were there any challenges that you experienced while you were building your own business and growing in this direction?
Oh, yeah. Well, here's one which we all struggle with, and I would say this is my top one that I struggle with. And I want to put it in context. So I'm from England, and when I was earning the most money that I have ever earned in my life was when I worked in London. Go figure, it's the capital. And I was working in finance. And so finance back then, when I was working in it, had the money. And so it could pay well. And ironically, I didn't go into that industry for that reason. There's a story behind that, but I won't tell it on this one. And so now that was the most money I've ever earned in my life. Now I'm in paradise. I'm not in a financial district where money is just, oozing out of everyone's eyes. Like, I now live in paradise and people don't earn that money. And so my money story is screwed because I feel and look at life, which is only normal. And anyone listening to this, you are going to do exactly the same. You live where you live. You earn what you earn. You're surrounded by people who earn the same. And so when you're trying to up your prices, the knee-jerk reaction is, oh my goodness, I couldn't possibly charge that. Or you don't think that you're worthy of that. And so you don't charge it. And so that, I would say, has been the biggest challenge, because it's a challenge for everyone. We'll always have a money story, always. It's due to social conditioning and what you grew up with and all the rest of it. And so I can see both sides of the fence. When I earned the most and now I'm not earning great money. But I mean, I'm still doing a job now at the moment, still working for a restaurant, and they don't have that money. And so that, I would say, is the biggest challenge on knowing my worth, knowing what I'm bringing to a business. And now obviously I work with coaches and, service providers. And when I look at my costing, I don't look at it from, here's me in my tropical bubble and only people can afford tropical bubble money. No, you deal with the internet, right? Stop looking at life through tropical bubbles money story you're living in and see the value that you are bringing to someone's life, how it's moving the needle forward in their business, and ultimately how it's giving them more money, And so that is a challenge I struggle with, and I don't think it will ever go away. But that's been the biggest one, the biggest struggle.
Amazing. We see you with your gregarious, awesome, room-filling personality, and we're like, yo, this lady has, confidence for days and leaps and bounds. Was there ever a time that you struggled with confidence and wanted to quit in your life?
Oh, many times. Well, let's get to the root of it. I grew up with a narcissistic mother, so it wasn't safe for me to be me. If I was truly me, my mother would make my life hell. And, she didn't want the spotlight on me. Not that I was, jazz hands singing and dancing because I wanted the spotlight on me. I'm not like that. I'm just a normal human being that's just living, And so I grew up in the shadow of my mother. So I've been around narcissism all of the time of growing up, right? And I escaped that when I was in like my 20s. I still go through things. What I would say is the biggest thing I've had is what I've just told you about social media. And so I want to tell you this and your listeners, because this is what has helped me do PR. So we can go into that if you want to in this interview. But what I will say is PR, there is nowhere to hide. We all see people trolling all the day long, and that's just how social media is. And people are getting very, very bold at tearing people down. And you see it so much in the coaching industry. And so I know the fear that people have in being seen. And what I always say to my clients is, this is going to demand a strength of you you've never, ever, ever displayed ever before. Because even if someone trolls your post, that's not going to harm your day. You're going to get thick skin to that. It's just life. So the thing that I've had to deal with out here was when I brought what I was doing for restaurants into the Facebook groups, I got a lot of heat about that. So I would get workers giving me, grief, going, who does she think she is? She thinks she's amazing. All of that carry on. And they didn't like it. And the way that I got through that was, they don't pay my rent. They have no say over my life. They're not the ones getting me up in the morning and getting me to get out of bed and put the smile on and function as an adult. They're not in control of that. I am. So if they've got heat, that heat can just go over there because they are projecting their crap on me. Likewise, if they were a mature, emotionally mature human being, here's the thing. When I was in England, I was a secretary. I didn't do any of what I do now on this island. And the thing about me is when I see people and they're doing something that I don't know and I'm learning, I look at that person and I go, oh, and I ask questions. I'm like, oh, could I just ask you this? And how did you learn this? And how have you managed to get this out of life? I look at life like that. And a lot of people don't. And so people want to tear other people down. They get jealous. They project their insecurities, or they want to keep you down because they are not prepared to go up. And so it's all this keeping you down. And I learned a lot how to work on my mindset like I'd never worked on it before, because I would be working at restaurants and bars. People would be giving me absolute drama. And I would be like, nah, I am not being kept small because that's what they want. I'm going to rise above and I am going to do what I want to do. And that's what I help my clients with. So not only am I getting them more visible with all the PR appearances they're going to do, but I help them with their insecurities that will come to the surface. I do this in a nice way, because here's the thing. When people decide that they want to do PR, of course, they're excited about it because it's like, oh my goodness, this is going to be so good. And I'll do this and I'll do that and they're excited. I don't become Debbie Downer. I don't do that. But what I say to them is, I just want you to know that in this PR journey that you're going to walk with me, there are going to be times where you're going to wobble. There are going to be times where you want to shut the door to the world, put on Netflix, eat your favorite comfort food, and just not be a human. Now, what I always say to my clients, if that time arises, I am never going to push someone too much, right? I'm hard enough on myself, but that's me, right? I'm never going to do that to a client. But what I always say to them is this: life is going to life. Okay. So when you have those moments, yes, don't push through if you know that your headspace it just isn't working that day. So yes, have the Netflix day, or do whatever it is, the thing that you need to do that's going to give you joy, right? But I never let it go longer than 3 days. Now that's different if there's been a death in the family or something very traumatic. That's different. But if it's just a wobble, then I say to them, I am not allowing this longer than 3 days. And the reason I'm not going to allow it longer than 3 days is it's like a kid learning to ride a bike, and you're going to progress. But then if the kid doesn't ride a bike for a couple of weeks, you're back to the wobble phase again. So, and also, so there's that factor of the wobbly bit, but there's also well, how can people take you seriously? 1 minute you're showing up, you're doing all of the things, saying, hey, do this, do that, da, 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 and showing your story and showing why you're an authority in what you do. But then you go off grid. So why is anyone going to take that seriously? Because it's like, well, they were all singing and dancing that week. Now I haven't seen them for like 3 weeks. Where have they gone? You know? So it's about learning to go through life as it's lifing. Yeah. And I help all my clients with that. I help them with their mindset work. I help them believe in who they are. I help them walk through whatever it is they need to walk through. And we will only ever know that as it comes up. You know, for instance, when I prepare their pitch, I always say to them, is there anything you will never want to discuss? Because if there's something that's a big fat no, tell me, so that will never happen in an interview for you. So I always get that out of the way. But there's always going to be something that we can never preempt. Maybe you're in an interview like I am with you now, and the host asks a question and you put that thing to bed years ago, right? And now all of a sudden it came up in an interview, and now they're like, oh. And you know, sometimes people will do that. My clients will get on a call with me, or they'll send me an email or a message or something, and I'm like, oh, you know, this came up, and I'm like kind of dealing with these emotions that I put to bed years ago. And so, oh, this is a lot, you know. And so it isn't just the PR that I deal with. I deal with them as a human being and helping them process what they need to process, and in the time frame that they need to process it in as well.
Amazing. Amazing. One thing you talk about often is helping people weave their stories into their marketing. And I love that. A lot of people think that marketing means buy my products. It's something so much deeper. Often it's often found the true marketing happens in the storytelling. Why do you think stories are so powerful, and how can people connect more emotionally to their storytelling?
I love PR for this reason. I would say it's this side of PR that excites me the most. Just an idea that's come in my head that everyone will just instantly understand, right? So let's look at celebrities, right? Whether you actually like that celebrity or not for what their craft is, maybe they're a singer, maybe they're an actor, I don't care. Whatever the thing is, right? They're a sports person. A really well-known celebrity can lose all credibility, and we see this all the time, where they will hook up with a brand, and all of a sudden there's uproar, and people are like, can't believe that person is associating themselves with this brand. I can't believe they actually want to be seen with these people, that they are defending this, right? And I'm not even getting political at this point, even though I know, especially in America, you guys can, and I'm not going there. But what I'm saying is, you could have a celebrity that goes with something, and all of a sudden they have lost they're going to lose part of the fan base. They're going to lose credibility. People are not going to see them the same. They're going to go, oh my goodness, I looked up to that person. I thought they were a really nice human being. I valued what they did, not just for what they do as an artist, music, person, singer, actor, whatever. Now they're like, I don't respect that person anymore. Respect is massive. As a business owner, if you cannot command respect, even before you've opened your mouth, you are going to lose every single part of your marketing. And so When you are telling your story, and this is why it excites me, in social media and in marketing, there will always be the latest trend. Maybe it's the latest dance to move to, or if you're on the TikTok platform, I don't know. I never use TikTok, so I don't even know if they're still doing that anymore. Whatever the thing is, right? There's always a trend and you see it go through social media land, right? If that's your jam and you want to do it, do it. But here's the thing. When I have heart-to-hearts with my clients, I always tell them this. Trends are going to come and go. It's the beast of marketing. But your story will stand the test of time. And the story of you is unique to you. No one can take it away from you. No one can discredit it. No one can tell you you're a liar because you lived it. And I tell my clients to own it, right? And I always have a laugh with them, yeah. And at first they'll be a bit like, but why would anyone want to know this? And I'm like, you just never know why people will connect with other people. So let me give you an example. You could have a woman who has gone through a messy divorce, and I would say to her, you don't have to discuss the ins and outs of the divorce. I'm not saying that, but would you be prepared to discuss it in your PR that you actually went through a messy divorce? And I always give the reason why. And she could be doing an interview. She could be on a podcast just saying, yeah, there was a time in my life where, I was with the love of my life and then it all fell apart. We went through this huge, horrible, messy divorce. And she gives a little bit of detail. Guess what? If a woman is going through a messy divorce right there and then, she's listening to you now. She's listening and she's scrolling, and maybe she's just paused on the video and you happen to mention messy divorce. She's like, oh, didn't know she'd had a messy divorce, right? Or maybe a woman had been through one many years ago. It doesn't matter when you've been through it, whether it happened now or years previous. People start connecting with you because there's so much noise in the marketing arena, whether it's social media apps, whether it's emails, whether it's newsletters, whether it's doing video. There's so much noise. And so people, you hear the clickbait and rage bait all the time, right? And so what I love when I'm preparing stories for my clients is this is unique to you. And so when I get their pitch, the way they want it, because that's how I work with clients. I sit down and interview them the way a journalist would. And I want to confess something now. And I actually had a guy jump on one of my Threads posts 2 weeks ago telling me that I was a self-taught marketer. And you know what? I am, honey. I am. And I have no shame in the game. I don't have journalistic degrees. I haven't been to media school or a business school. I don't have any of that. But you know what I have? I have passion. I have passion. I have integrity, and I care. And those things aren't taught. That's something that's inside of you. And so when I am preparing the pitch for my client, I do it for 2 reasons. Number one, obviously it's going to get me to pitch them, right? But they have to be happy with the pitch. It isn't just, I prepare it and then I don't care how it looks to them. Like, they have to be happy with knowing that that's going out. Number 2, I have to, PR is hard. It's not easy. People know that they want to get seen and featured. This is what everyone's doing right now. How many emails do you think podcast hosts are getting daily? Daily. No, I'm not talking weekly. I'm talking daily, right? And I'm not even talking the big guns of the world, right?
A lot.
Editors of magazines. How many pitches do you think they're getting? Or how many articles are being submitted daily? Hundreds, if not thousands, right? So the purpose of my pitch is, number one, I want my client to be proud of the pitch, right? Just the way that you would do if it was your website, and does that, you're proud to show people your website, right? But then I pitch them in a way that I know the person who's going to open that email is jaded, is cynical, is fed up reading probably a lot of AI slop right now. And so what I get really happy about is having a pitch that my client loves. And they're like, yeah, I love this. This is me. And that's why I always say, own it, girl. Own it, baby. And then I love that when I pitch them, I do it in a way that takes away the cynicism of the reader. So when I'm pitching, I'm like, hey, this is my client. They do X, Y, Z. Their angle on life has been this. These are the lessons that they have learned. And I know that your community loves to discuss blah, blah, blah. I would love if you would feature them because I think that they can bring this to your community. And I know your community will gobble that up. Now, the jaded, cynical person at the end of this email is like, they don't even have to think because I've just given them, it's like me offering them my favorite dish that I've just made, my favorite chocolate cake or whatever it is that I happen to like. And I'm like, oh, have a piece of my chocolate cake, right? I'm presenting it in a way that that person's going to go, oh my goodness, yeah, we do discuss that in our community. Yeah, cool. Yeah, let's get them on a call or let's get them doing an interview or write an article or whatever the thing is. And so that is what I genuinely love about PR. Sorry, I went on a rant then. I can't even remember what the question was. I get so animated. But I love it because marketing trends will always come and go, but your story stands the test of time.
Amazing answer. You got some awesome comments coming in from out of our live audience. Terrapar Olo Studio says, this is all such awesome wisdom, Melanie. And
Thank you.
They also talk about how life experience is king, and they were agreeing with you on other things as well. What kind of opportunities do you think people overlook that are available in public relations? Podcasts, local news?
Yeah, I mean, podcasts, if you want to, just, here's the thing, and it's so funny. I have a phrase that I tell all of my clients because that is another human limitation that we have on ourselves. So when they first start this PR journey, I will put opportunities on their radar. You see, here's the thing. I'm a very excitable person, which I gather that you will have guessed now. My nickname is Tigger because I get excited about PR. And so here's the thing that I do with clients. I present the PR in a very neutral way. They're always getting emails from me, right? Unless it's super urgent, then they'll get an email and a message saying, hey, the deadline is blah, blah, blah. Get this done ASAP if you want this. But I present it in a neutral way. Let me tell you why. And this is very hard for me to do because I'm excitable. I do it in a neutral way because it's their business. And so if I'm going to be jumping up and down going, oh my God, you've got to do this. No, they don't have to do it. And if it's something that they don't see value in or they don't feel like it's a good fit, even though it could be the same industry, right? If they don't feel excited about it themselves, then the PR won't work because they would go on that podcast or they would write an article or whatever the thing is they're doing PR wise. And if their energy isn't behind it, they're just going to look like a puppet that's, someone's just moving the wire so that they're moving around to whatever it is they need to do. So I stay neutral when I present the PR. Now, if you've not done PR before, something that I suggest that you could do just to give you baby steps on this is whatever your industry is. And as I say, I know you deal with creatives. So maybe you're an artist or you're a singer or you do mosaics, sculpting, photographer, the list goes on, right? So whatever it is that you do, here's a piece of homework that you could do. You could even do it now because you guys are hours behind me. So it's the morning, I think, for you guys. So before you go into Monday, sit down with a piece of paper and go, okay, what 3 podcasts and what 3 magazines would be a really good fit for me? Like, I know if I got featured in that, oh my God, it would be amazing. Look, go and find 3. So that's 6 things you need to find. 3 podcasts, 3 magazines. Find them. And then what I want you to do is, and this is why people hire me, but I would like you to stretch yourself because here's the thing. A lot of the time when the clients start with me, there's that limitation we put on ourselves. So I could present something to them and they could turn around and go, oh, but I'm not that big yet, Mel, or I don't have a huge following, Mel, or I've only just started this journey, or I need to go and get this certification and, all the things we say, right? I always say this to my clients. The answer will always be no unless you try. So you've already said it's a no because you haven't tried. And you see this all the time. I see people put up social media posts and send out emails every single day because it's the truth. There are people with less experience than you killing it because they actually have the audacity and the cojones to knock on the door or pick up the call or send that email and go, hey, shooting my shot today. Why don't we do X, Y, Z, right? So what I suggest you do, if you feel that you could pitch yourself, go ahead and do that. If you don't feel that you're at that pitching moment, then what I want you to do is send an email with no more than 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph would be who you are, why you exist, what you do, and why you're passionate about it, which is selling you. Number 2 is explaining that you realize what they do, why you like them as a podcast host, or why you like that magazine, right? And I'm not saying kiss their ass. I'm not saying that, but just genuinely say why you like it. And the 3rd paragraph is to say, I would love to be featured because, as I said in the first paragraph, this is what I do. And I know that your community discusses da 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 da. And I would love to be featured because I really think that I could bring value to your audience. Have you any idea how many people are pitching themselves and they don't have value? They don't have value. And a lot of people that do pitching for them, they're just it's like we all know about selling. Selling is a sales game. Sorry, I've reworded that wrong. Selling is a numbers game. You're going to hear a lot of no's until you get the yes, right? Now, here's what I want you to make very clear for you here. If you do those 6 things and you still get no's, I don't want you going, this girl knows nothing, because you're going to get a lot of no's. Or you may just hear not at this moment in time, because here's something I want you to be aware of. You could have a certain industry, okay? And a journalist, I'm just going to talk about a newspaper now. A journalist is looking at a certain industry, but they're going at it in this direction. Now, your pitch could be going off in a totally different direction. So now you're an instant no. But it doesn't mean you're a no forever. It's just the direction they want to go in is this way, but you've presented yourself that way, okay? So never take it personally, never take it to heart, never think what's wrong with me. And here's what I also want to say. If an editor or a journalist or a podcast host responds back, please reply. And even if it's a no, just say, oh, okay. And I would gather that they would tell you why it's a no. And if they don't say why it's a no, ask for the feedback. Say, oh, thank you for getting back to me. Could I just ask why it's a no, just so I can, get better at this in the process? There's no shame in that. This is why I'm saying to you, I don't have any shame in the game of being self-taught. I have no shame in that whatsoever. And so the hardest part is the first step forward. And once you've made that first step, it becomes easier and easier. Now my clients, they're so blasé about things now. At first, they're wibbly wobbly and like, oh, I don't know. And they're giving it all that. Now, when I present things, they're like, yeah, shoot the shot, girl, let's do it. Because they're just like, well, if I don't try, it's going to be no anyway. And it's like when you're at the gym and you're toning the muscles. The more you do it, the muscle responds. When you stop doing it, then obviously it's harder. It's like what I said before earlier with the kid learning to ride a bike. And so what I want to say to you is, don't be despondent. If after I've given you that example and you run off and you find 6 things to go off and do, and you get 6 no's, don't be despondent by that, because PR isn't a yes every time. I get loads of no's as regards my clients, loads of them, but I don't get despondent because I know that I have to hit the no's, and I also know I'm going to get yeses. So that's just the nature of PR.
Amazing, Melanie. Amazing. You tapped on 2 things that we talk about a lot in Love in Action Network. You talked about vulnerability, putting yourself out there, and you also talked about deservability. And without the vulnerability and the deservability, how are we going to shoot the shot? How are we going to put ourselves out there? And I mean, this goes across creative industries, no matter what you're doing, culinary, engineering, aviation, you name it. If you're not vulnerable enough to come from your I am, and then after speaking from your I am and presenting yourself to people, believing that you're deserving of it, then you're not even in the game for real.
I want to say something that people won't know about me. So the very first client, this is the woman that I told you who was a coach, and she reached out to me saying, I want to start doing retreats and I want you to PR for me. She stopped doing it now because her life's going in a different direction. But back then she was a creative coach. And what she did, similar to you, she would help people who were creatives to actually make an income from what they do, because we all hear starving artist, okay? And so she would help them create a business that they love, doing all the wonderful creative things that they love to do, and actually ditch their 9-to-5. And so she was well ahead in her game, and she was very good at what she did. And so me and her we would shoot the shot about a lot of things, and there would always be a lot to discuss. We would always regroup every once in a while. And I used to say to her, how do you keep going in this? You know, if we're getting no's or something, why do you not let this become too big a thing? And she would always say, because it's not life and death, is it? Like, I'm still going to be alive tomorrow, whether the answer is yes or no. She was very, even though she's a creative person, she's an artist, she didn't take it personally. Now, okay, she's human. There's going to be times when she's going to feel low. So I'm not trying to say that she's this Snow White wandering through the fields of, Narnia and everything's groovy in the garden. She wasn't that stupid with it. But she just had a way of, if I don't try, nothing's going to move forward. So I'm never going to take it personally. And that's the best advice I can give you. And it's hard, because when you're a creative, it's a piece of you. That creativity has come from you, and it's either a piece of artwork, or it's in some music that you made, or whatever. Maybe it's fashion, you create clothes, whatever the creative outlet is that you do, you put your life and soul into that. And so actually, I want to say something now, and I can't remember. I think he's called Callum something or other. He's on Instagram. He's an artist, and I don't know if you've ever seen him. He hangs from a trapeze, and he gets paint, and he throws it on a white palette, and then obviously the paint just goes and the palette is spinning around really, really fast, and he throws it on. And I will find out his account, and I'll send this to you, because you could tag that on this for people to check it out. And I am telling this in this interview because it's so important, and it's going to hit home. He is a very talented artist, and he is at the top of his game, and he is selling artwork for like $20,000, if not $40,000 more, right? He's openly shown screenshots on his Instagram of messages that people have sent. People saying they're going to kill him. People saying you deserve to be dead. People saying I can do better than that, or my 5-year-old can do better than that. And the reason that he shares that is, a lot of people have said, oh, it's not worth that money. No, that's not worth that money. You call yourself an artist. And the reason that he shares this openly on his social media is, I want you to see the behind the scenes of my life. So again, telling the story. So he is telling that story through the power of social media. You could look at this guy who does videos all the day long of him hanging on this trapeze thing and just doing swirly paint. I love it, but you could look at it and not like it. Do you want the guy dead? I don't think so. So here's the thing. He's open enough to share that, to say, hey, I've had to go through my blocks. I've had to get through my disappointments in life. And yes, I've reached a point in my life where I can charge this money. But here's the thing. People are spending it. If you want to argue that, art is a personal thing, right? I'm just using art as an example. Maybe you're a writer, whatever the thing is, right? But art is, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? And so I love how he does share this openly on social media and says, even though I feel happy and I've reached an amazing point in my life where I'm generating a very healthy income over what I do, I'm getting death threats. People, I'm getting death threats, and I'm being told that their 5-year-old can do way better than this, and call yourself an artist. This is ridiculous. And I like that he shares that, because it's very easy, as we know, Instagram's perfect for this, to go and see what we think is a perfect life. You do not know what problems people are dealing with in their personal life. And so people judge. It's part of being human, judging. And when you're an artist or you're a creative, putting yourself out, that's massive, because every single movement of your day is, does someone like it? Don't they like it? And you're going to have moments where it does throw you, it takes the rug from under your feet, and you're going to have to work on that. You're going to have to work on self-belief. Here's the thing, and this can be said about anything in life. If you're seeking validation or even permission for people liking you, liking how you live, liking how you show up, no one wants to be ostracized. We all want to feel like we belong. But if you need to feel liked for everything you do in your life and in business, you will struggle. Because you're gonna, just by being you, some people are not gonna like you. And this is where you're gonna have to grow some kahunas and go, that's okay. That's okay. I do that in my own personal life. We said at the beginning of this interview, I live on a beautiful tropical island. I can get people who have decided they don't like me or they don't like my life choice. And I sleep well every single night because I am living life to please me. I'm not running around being a bitch, but when my head hits the pillow, I lived the life that I wanted to live, instead of being in that 9 to 5 in England, where I hate the boss, hate all the office politics, hate living in crappy weather. Like, those were the big deciding factors for me. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. And at the time when I moved, for you guys out there, you might not know about it, but we were going through a massive upheaval. It was called Brexit, and England was voting to be independent of Europe. I had a very personal choice to make. I was like, okay, so I either sit here like a lame duck and let the English government decide my fate over something that I don't agree with, by the way, or I book a one-way flight to Spain and see what's going to happen. And so I booked the one-way flight. And so, that does sound a bit far-fetched, but what I want to say to you is, you are going at some point to have to live a life that pleases you. And if you don't, you can even make yourself ill. Eventually, stuff like that eats you up inside. It does.
Ooh, you are hitting all of the themes of this network. We've been talking for weeks about addiction, validation addiction. And you just gave people the medicine for validation addiction and doing what you want to do with your life. I love that. Before we go into rapid fire, if people were to start their PR journey today, how long should people expect before they start seeing momentum? Because, a lot of people think that they're going to just like step out on the lawn and instantly everything's going to, happen. That does happen for people. There are overnight successes, but you and I both know what's really tea. So, how long?
Level of expectation. So I, again, discuss this with clients when I onboard them. Like I always say to them, you are not going to blow up overnight. So I'm just going to put that out there now. And what I want people to realize is PR, well, first of all, before I start this, PR is like adding rocket fuel to marketing. So the best advice I can give you is, if you do marketing without PR, you're still going to get the success you want. It's just going to take you longer. because the algorithm's never going to be in your favor. You can't determine how many people are going to open email lists. There's only a certain parameter that's going to go, right? And again, I'm not bashing it because it all has its place and you can still be successful. When you add PR to the mix, that's like adding rocket fuel. And so more doors are going to open, more opportunities are going to present themselves, because now, I've had it happen for me and I've had it happen for clients where I could go on a podcast or my client's gone on and they're like, oh my goodness, that podcast interview I did was amazing. But guess what? They're teaming up with such and such a person and they told me that I need to speak to blah, 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 because this person loves what I do and da, da, da. All of a sudden they're now in someone else's orbit, right? That would never have happened if they hadn't have done that podcast interview. And that's just one podcast interview. So in answer to that question, here's how I want it to make sense. I've done 2 book launches, and one of them, I was in one of them. It was a book collaboration. And I'm glad to say both book launches that I did are #1 bestsellers on Amazon, don't you know? And there was a lot of hard work that went into that, obviously. And here's the deal. If someone approached me and said, Mel, I want to do a book launch, please help me, I don't take on a book launch unless we have at least 3 months to work with. If you've got 3 months, you can do well out of that. But if they come to me and say, oh, my launch date is in 2 months' time, it's just not enough. It's not enough. It's what we were saying at the beginning. People need to know about you, which is what the story, person writing a book, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, doesn't matter. Who's the author? Look at Beyonce. Beyonce could publish a book this Christmas and she's going to kill it. She doesn't need to do all the PR that's involved. She doesn't even need to do the PR herself. She could get those interviews set up and get someone to go out there and be a little pretty girl and just speak on behalf of Beyonce. But she does it herself. Why does she do it herself? Because she sees how it generates money. It sees how it moves the business forward. And yet she's queen bee, right? And so here's the thing, level of expectation. If someone came to me with a book launch, as long as there's 3 months, we can be successful on the book launch. If someone's wanting, and I'm talking about this because, I deal with coaches and service providers, but I'm trying to put it in context for you guys too. So if a coach came to me and said, oh, I want to sell a retreat, ideally, I'd love a year to just be breadcrumbing that. If not, 9 months is justifiable. But people, and I get it, they get excited about what they're doing. And then they're like, oh, I'll do this in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. No, your PR is going to compound. It's like building a snowman. So you get that little bit of snow, you rub it around, and then you just start rolling and rolling and rolling until you make the snowman. So it takes a lot of rolling with that snowball to get the snowman. And it's the same with your PR. So for you creatives, depending on what you're trying to do, I would give yourself anywhere from 6 months to a year. If you do PR from 6 months to a year, you are going to see huge growth for yourself. Huge. As in, more people are going to come into your orbit, that you're not just going to get from social media and emails. More opportunities will arise, so you could have done something with someone and then people remember you and they're like, oh my goodness, they were such a good guest or they wrote such a good article. Now we're going to go and do this and we want them to be a part of it. And all of a sudden you're getting an email to be invited to do something. These things do not, I always say this to my clients, PR does not fall from heaven. I wish it did, but it doesn't. You're going to have to do the legwork and it's going to take some time. And at times you're going to think, why am I doing this? But eventually the nut starts to crack. It's like putting pressure on that dirty little bit of rock, which now becomes a diamond, so it takes time. And I always give people levels of expectation.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. People think when they come into the lives or they go over to the Substack or they listen to the Spotify and all of the platforms where we're going to be heard today that I started last week. I started 9 years ago in order to be able to hold space for a guest like you in Spain. It did not start off like this 9 years ago. And so I always tell people the best time to plant a tree is 25 years ago if you want to get the shade. And the second best time to plant a tree is today, so that you can start,
So
nurturing
true.
and building. Yeah. All right, let's do rapid fire real quick as we land this plane today. One word answers are close to it, although some of the questions that are here are going to take more than one word answers. So just do your Melanie best. I know that we get on like a house on fire and we can talk. It's so great. It's so great. All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Morning or night?
Night.
Books or podcast?
Podcast.
Introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
Okay, this is going to take more than one word, I feel. What's one marketing myth?
That there's a blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
There is no blueprint, by the way. It's bullshit.
Total bullshit. I've heard you talk about this on Threads. You this is like a hill that you are putting a flag.
Oh, I will die on it. I will die on it, because if there was a blueprint to business, so you guys are creatives who are watching this, I deal with, coaches, service providers, you could be an accountant, you could be a fitness coach, you could be a writer, on and on it goes. If there was a blueprint, why isn't everyone successful? There's timing in life, whether you believe in fate or not, there's a journey we're all going on. And we're not in competition with anyone. And this is the problem that people have. They see, you get the jealousy aspect of it, which is like, oh, look at her. Who does she think she is? Or who does he think he is? And like, everyone has a time where it's their time. And as you've said, you don't know what's going on in people's lives. You don't know, like you said, you have been building this 9 years. You don't know what people have been through, right? So instead of being jealous, look at someone and go, wow, they got that. I can get that too, right? And if more people was to look at that, reframe it, think to yourself, wow, they've got that. I wonder how they got that. Reach out to people, ask them a question. Like, no one is untouchable. No one is irreplaceable. Like, we're all just humans going through this human journey, and no one's better than anyone else. I refuse to do all of that, right? And that's why I feel very guarded with PR, because if I see someone and I don't like what they do, or I don't, a bit like what I was saying about celebrities, and if they was to go off in a certain direction and they lose credibility, I don't want to do PR with certain types of people. And there's a reason why. Because if all you're going to talk about is the money in your bank account and how extravagant your lifestyle is, and by the way, I have no problem with that, because eventually I would love to be on one of the yachts out here in paradise and sipping Dom Perignon, and I'll reach that point. So I'm not having a bash at people gaining wealth. But what I don't like is when they lead with that. I used to work with investment bankers in London. I know it. I know wealth. I know egotistical, driven personalities that are surrounded by wealth, and how it makes people puffed up peacocks. And there's this thing of, I'm better than you. No. And I don't like it. And so when I do the PR, if someone was to come to me and say, oh, here's some money and go and make me even more famous, but all they want is extravagance, I cannot work with someone like that, because I don't believe in why they're doing the PR. And even though I could go off and do it, it feels yuck to me. And so, yeah, own what you do and have boundaries on that. Own what you do, believe in yourself, have boundaries on it, and have principles, and say to yourself, there could come a point where I've seen people on Threads talk about things. I think I saw something yesterday where a woman had got an invite to Cannes. She was very gifted and knowledgeable in what she does, but they weren't going to pay for it. And she was like, oh, no. It was a perfect opportunity, but I said no, because they ain't getting that for free. And you can argue till the cows come home on who was right and who was wrong, and that's not why I've said it. But there's going to come a point in your business journey and in your own personal life where you just go, no, I'm not signing up for that. That's not me.
What's one business habit that you swear by?
This is a toughie, because there's so many things. Okay, here's something something that I am going to say because I actually struggle with it, which sounds ironic knowing of where I live. I struggle to rest. Doesn't that sound crazy? I live in paradise and I struggle to rest. The reason I struggle to rest is I grew up in cities all my life. And so I grew up in Manchester and I grew up in London. And so I know city living. And even though I'm surrounded by palm trees and beaches and the Spanish being slow, I still think and move quite fast, except in the summer where we're going to get very, very hot. And so I can beat myself up and be like, "Urgh." And then I have moments where I go, Mel, go take a chill pill, go for a walk, put that thing down. And if I'm feeling extra crabby and ratty, or I'm feeling like it's just like, oh, I go, you know what, you need to walk away. You shouldn't be feeling all of that. Just walk away or go for a nap or whatever the thing is that's going to bring you some joy and feel like you're a better human being. Go and do that. Take a break. And I guarantee every time I do it, I come back and it works.
What's your favorite quote?
I think this was by Maya Angelou. And I think the quote goes something like, people may not always remember what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Love it, because it's so true.
Juicy boots. Juicy boots. Juicy boots. What's one daily habit that changed your life?
You see, I'm going to hold my hand up now because this is where I become very real. And I think this is why people just jive with me. You know, you get those people, don't you, where they go, I get up every morning and I do my morning routine where I meditate and I journal and I go on a plunge and like, that's not me. That's not me. That said, when I do journal, because I should journal way more than what I do. And actually, guess what? I'm going to be doing some. It's going to be an incorporation of journaling and planning that I'm going to do when I get off this call. And when I do that, the inspiration that starts to flow, the analyzing of my thoughts where I'm like, oh, did I really think that? Well, that's crazy. No, don't do that, girl. You need to do this. And so when you start putting it all down on paper, because it's very easy, you know, I live on my phone. I'm on the phone now. And it's very easy to just be tapping into your notes or bookmarking something and whatever the thing is we do. But it's when we take that time to just sit there and go, right, what are we doing? And I'm not saying what it is yet, but I'm going to be hiring someone in October. And we're going to start a project of mine, which is very near and dear to my heart, which is going to launch next year. And I'm feeling super excited about that. It's my baby. And being the marketing person that I am, I don't like, she was the first person I've ever hired. I've never hired anyone in my life. And one thing I feel very, very, very strict about is if I'm going to hire someone, I don't want them feeling vague. I want them to feel like when I give them some work to do, they're like, oh my goodness, and just let her go off and do it, because she is a techie genius and she can do things that I can't do, but she can't do it if I'm a bit vague. And so that's going to be part of what I do tonight, where I sit down and I plan and I go, right, this is what I want to do. And I work backwards. And the reason I'm telling this is it's how I approach PR. A client can come to me and say, oh, I want a book launch happening, or I want to fill a retreat, or maybe you're an artist and you're like, oh, I want to get in this art gallery, or whatever the thing could be, right? Then I work backwards from that. So that's the thing we want to achieve. How are we going to get these stepping stones to get there? Which is another reason on why I love PR, because I can make a lot of noise, PR can make a lot of noise, but if you're not sending people to what you need them to go to, it's just noise. And people have the attention span of, what is it, 5 seconds now or something, 7 seconds? So if you're not sending them to something, you're losing them. So I would like to say that I journal every day. I don't, I'm real. But when I do, I always have like huge hits.
Who's one person in your life that has inspired you to be Melanie?
My late grandmother, she was my joy. She helped me deal with my narcissistic mother. She wasn't the typical mother-in-law who wanted to take over from my mother. She was nothing like that. She was nothing like that. She wanted more than anything for my mum to love me. And my late grandmother taught me unconditional love. She also taught me how to be strong. I remember I was about 14 or 15, sitting in her apartment crying because of something that my mum had done. And she said, because she knew she didn't have much longer to live, and she said to me, "You're going to have an amazing life." So imagine I'm sat there crying my eyes out, and I was like, "What do you mean? How can you say I'm going to have an amazing life?" Because I was 14 or 15 crying over something that my mum had done to destroy my life at that time. And she said, "Because you're strong. If you weren't a strong person, I'd worry about you." She said, "But you're going to live an amazing life." And I have moments, I'm feeling emotional now, but I have moments where I'll be here in paradise and something will happen. It might be the lyrics to a song, or I might just have this jolt of a memory, or I'll hear words of something, or you know how you see the feather on the pavement or something, and I'll just be like, or someone will say something and it'll relate to something that me and my gran used to talk about. Or there'll be times in my life out here, I'm on my own, I don't have a plan B, I am my plan B. And things will just happen and I'll be like, I know that's you, Gran. There's just too much of it being a coincidence. Like, look, we don't know what happens when people die, and I'm not getting morbid or anything like that. That's not why I'm saying this. But there's more to life than just whatever amount of time we are on this planet. And there are times when I just feel like she's guiding me, even though she's still not alive. I had such a close bond with her.
What a gift. Melanie, I'd love to leave listeners with a last bit of encouragement for the people who are out there listening all over the planet, whether they're on our YouTube channel, on our Spotify, the Apple Podcast, the TikTok replays, all of the above. If there's a person out there who is struggling to believe that their voice matters, what would you say to them?
Well, let's hit on what I've just said about journaling. If you know journaling, then you don't need it being explained. I'm going to look at this that you don't know journaling. So if you don't know journaling, I want you to get a pad and I want you to get a pen and I want you to be on your own. I don't want you listening to music. I don't want you having people walking around you. I don't want you having family members or friends or work colleagues giving their 2 penneth. Like, I want you on your own, in your own thoughts, to go, why do I feel that my work isn't worthy of being seen? Why do I feel like I'm not worthy of being interviewed on a podcast? Why do I feel like a magazine's just always going to say no to me? Or why do I feel I'm the person that gets rejected every time? Why do I feel those feelings? Where's it coming from? And dig and dig and dig and dig, and something is going to hit home. And it could be a phrase that was said to you as a child, whether it was by your parents, maybe something at school. Something's going to happen where you're going to go, oh my goodness, that incident is why I do all of this. And when you dig deep, that's when you hit gold, because then you realize why you've been acting the way you've been acting all your life, and why you have the thoughts that you have, and why you only let yourself do this and not this. How many times do we get excited about something, right? And I will have this a lot with clients. They'll talk to me and they'll get excited and they'll be all animated and we'll have a good old chat. And after maybe 10 minutes of talking about it, they'll be like, but maybe not now. And I'll be like, so why are we backtracking? Because you've spent 10 minutes going, oh my God, that's going to be amazing. And we'll do this and we'll do that. And they'll be like, well, maybe not now. So why are you putting the brakes on? So I'm not saying go out there and take stupid risks. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, as you said, you are loved and lovable. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of shining bright. How many times do we go through life where people want to keep you quiet, where people want to keep you small, where people want to put you in a box? Corporate life alone does that. Corporate life alone is going to put you in the box, honey. So when you are wanting to come out of the box, and that does sound liberating, doesn't it? Like, oh, I'm going to set up a business and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then all of a sudden we have the wonderful imposter syndrome raise its head. Or maybe you're just being human one day and you put something out into the world and then some troll decided, oh, I'm going to write something really horrible. And it stung like a bee stings. And you're like, oh, and now you retreat inward because you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't think like that, or maybe I shouldn't do that, or who am I to think that that could happen for me? That's part of the human journey. But what I want you to realize is you're worthy of being seen, you're worthy of having the business that you want, and you're worthy of making great money from it, and you're worthy of having all the wonderful add-ons that come with that. An amazing lifestyle, great people in your friends circle, like just being surrounded by people who want to see you shine. Here's something that you could journal on as well. Maybe you're surrounded by people that don't want to see you shine. Now, that could be any scenario. It could be a family member. It could be work people. It could be, I don't know. It could be anything. It could be anyone. I don't know who that person is. But I bet you, if you know who that person is that makes you feel small, why are you letting them win? I'm going to say something, Anne. I know I sound really morbid because I did touch on my late grandmother, but I want to say this because it's so important. I don't know if people have heard of palliative nurses, but they are the nurses that care for the dying, okay? There have been several of them that have written books, and every single one of them has said this. The number one regret of people who are dying is they wish that they had lived a life that pleased them instead of pleasing everyone else. And I heard that quote years ago. We're talking probably 20 years ago. It could be even longer. And the minute I read that, I read it online somewhere, and it was like I'd been struck by lightning. I was like, whoa, it's why I moved to Spain. I had a choice in that moment. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Do I stay in England where I know that once this all goes through, it's going to be so hard for me to move out because the red tape will make it harder for me to move? Or do I just do it? Right? And so that was the thing in my head. I said to myself, I don't want to be on my deathbed going, I wonder if Gran Canaria would have worked. I want to just go off, do it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least I discovered that through me having the kahunas to do it. So likening this to you, I don't know, maybe there's an art gallery you want to feature in, maybe there's a fashion show you want to attend or even present at, or maybe there's a writer's thing that you want to be involved with, or maybe there's that book inside of you that you just never sit down and write, or maybe you're a photographer and you love to do photography, but you only view it as this little itty bitty hobby because, again, imposter syndrome is keeping you small. And if this is speaking to you, if you, after hearing me say those words, go, oh my God, she's called me out, good. Good. And now what I want you to do is to journal on that and say to yourself, do I want to just grow some kahunas and maybe get a little bit of flack here and there? You might not, but if you do, it's learning. I'm not saying this because I'm a huge fan of him, but I just admire him because I just think it's funny. So Richard Branson, who is a billionaire, and all these little things that he loves to do, and they go wrong, and the media love to like write about it because, let's face it, it makes a good story. Yeah, he's created some contraption that's going to fly in the sky and then it ends up dropping into the ocean somewhere. Of course it's going to make a great story. He's spent God knows how much money on it and it flopped. Now, wouldn't that be normal to go, oh my God, I can't believe the newspapers are like putting this everywhere with my name on it. I'm going to sound and look stupid. He takes it tongue in cheek. And you know what? He's a billionaire, so he's got the money. He has to do what he has to do to evolve as Richard Branson. Just so happens that he's a billionaire and he's got the money. But it's the same to you. I don't care how much money is in your bank account. I don't care if you're overdrawn. At the end of the day, you have to do what you have to do to grow. It's like a house plant. If you put it, some plants thrive on sun, some want to be in the shade, some love loads of water, some don't. And so we're all different. And so we need to look at life that way.
Woo! She's amazing. Before we let you go, tell everyone where they can find you online.
Yes. So my business name is You Are Your Marketing. And the reason that I have called it that is because you are your marketing. You can go and get all the marketing in the world, Facebook ads, funnels, PR even. Like, I don't care what the thing is you're going to do to market your business, but at the end of the day, it's you that steers the ship. So you can find me, youareyourmarketing.com is my website. You can find me on Instagram and on Threads with the same name, You Are Your Marketing, all one word. And there's no like dashes or dots in between. And you can find me on Facebook with my name, which is Melanie Whittaker. And you can also find me on LinkedIn with the same name, Melanie Whittaker. And I have pink hair and I'm pulling a funny face with a pink top.
Amazing. I got a little stuck. I'm my own production man, so I got a little stuck in all of your amazing, and their flames coming up. And so, yes, You Are Your Marketing. Check her out. She's got lovely.
But yeah, I mean, I just want to say this as well. Like, I'm real. So like when I mean, I'm going to be honest and put my hand up. I haven't done any like going lives for the longest time. I've been too busy. But when I do, and then I get discovery calls, people will hop on calls and they'll be like, you're just like you are in the Facebook Live or an Instagram Live. And I'm like, yeah, because trying to be something you're not, it's just too much drama. And I can't be something I'm not. And so what I want to say is, if you did reach out to me, I will be the one responding, not some assistant. Like, I genuinely care about people. So I also want to say, if after watching this interview and you've got some questions, don't feel like I'm going to laugh at it. Like, ask a question that you might think is the most stupid question, but it's there in your heart and you just want an answer. Shoot it my way. Like, as that famous phrase go, there is no thing as a stupid question. If you knew, you wouldn't ask it, would you? You'd get on and do.
There are audience members who have already said they are following you. They followed you already while being in the live taping.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to end on this. I do understand how hard it is to be a creative, because as I said, it's a piece of you just coming out into the world, and some of it will feel great and some of it might not feel great. And whatever you're going through in life, you know, you might be going through a great time in life, you might be going through a difficult time in life. And so it's all just personal. It's personal. And I want to leave on this note because I feel like it's important, because as I say, I generally deal with coaches and service providers, but I want to feel like I'm talking to your community. I want you to give yourself grace. And you're not just going to go from having self-sabotage, calling the shots, and then, woo, I'm all on these podcasts now, and woo, I'm on all of these magazines. That's not how life's going to go. And so what I want you to do is take baby steps. So set a goal. Why don't you set yourself a goal and say, we're going to go into August in a week's time. So why don't you say, I'm going to give myself the whole of August, and I'm going to set a goal of being on one podcast and in one magazine by the end of August. That's doable. It's totally doable.
Amazing. Amazing. Melanie, thank you so much for reminding
Thank you
us
for having
today.
me.
Of course, of course. Thank you for reminding us that marketing isn't about pretending to be someone that we're not. It's about helping people understand who we really are. Our stories have the power to encourage, to heal, to connect, to create opportunity. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. And to everyone listening, remember your story is not something to hide. It may be the very thing
Mm.
someone else needs to hear. So until next time, continue to encourage, continue to equip, continue to empower, and never ever forget what Melanie mirrored back to me that we mirror to the world here in Love and Action Network. You are loved and you are lovable. We'll see you soon on the next podcast.